Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something real. Have you ever wasted your energy trying to prove something to people who wouldn't believe you, even if you showed them the evidence? Have you ever caught yourself explaining your vision to someone who doesn't even have one of their own? See, here's what I've learned, and what I'm asking you to grab hold of today, elevation requires separation. That statement might sound simple, but it carries profound truth. In life, if you're going to rise above average, if you're going to break through limitations and step into the fullness of your potential, you're going to have to make some hard choices. One of those choices is separation. You can't bring everybody with you. You can't carry every relationship, every distraction, and every old habit into a new level. Some things and some people were only meant to be part of your story for a season, not the entire journey. Separation doesn't always mean cutting people off with anger or drama. It can be quiet. It can be internal. It can be a shift in energy, focus, and intention. There comes a point when you realize you're called to more, and more requires a different version of you. That version doesn't come alive in the same environment that created the old one. Elevation isn't just about changing your situation. It's about changing what you tolerate, what you entertain, what you allow into your mind, your spirit, your daily routine. There's a gravitational pull that comes with mediocrity. People who aren't chasing their potential will always feel uncomfortable around those who are. When you start focusing on discipline, purpose, and faith, some people will feel convicted by your consistency. Some will misunderstand you. Some will call you different, het, distant, or even arrogant. But what they don't see is that you're not pulling away from them. You're pulling towards something greater. You're pursuing something they can't feel because they're not wired for your calling. Elevation demands that you spend more time with intention than entertainment. It demands that you choose faith over fear, purpose over popularity, and growth over comfort. Those decisions isolate you. You'll miss some invites. You'll spend weekends working when others are partying. You'll wake up early to build when others are still asleep. And sometimes, yes, it'll feel lonely. But what's worse? Temporary loneliness or a lifetime of regret. Separation also applies to your mindset. You must separate from limiting beliefs, from the voices in your head that say you're not enough, not ready, not capable. Because you can't elevate while dragging doubt along with you. You've got to confront those thoughts and say, not anymore. You've got to rewire your identity and declare, I'm no longer available for excuses. I'm no longer accessible to distractions. I'm no longer tied to what I used to be. Most people want elevation, but they're not willing to go the separation process it requires. They want results without resistance. They want success without solitude. But it doesn't work that way. You've got to let go of what's behind you to grasp what's in front of you. That includes letting go of other people's opinions, as helps us, your need for approval, and the comfort of familiarity. What got you here won't get you there. And if you don't separate from what's holding you down, you'll never rise. There's also separation in the way you think about time. You stop wasting it. You stop giving it away to people or activities that don't align with your purpose. Every minute you spend distracted is a minute stolen from your destiny. When you start valuing your time like currency, you become selective with it. That selectivity might confuse others, but it'll center you. You're not being cold, you're being cold. And those who are truly for you will understand the difference. So When people ask why you're so focused, so distant, so unavailable for nonsense, the answer is simple: elevation requires separation. You're not running away from anything. You're rising towards something. Silence is a strategy, not a weakness. In a world where everyone is broadcasting their every move, every opinion, every plan, silence has become underrated and misunderstood. People often associate silence with fear, hesitation, or lack of confidence. But the truth is, silence, intentional silence, is one of the most powerful tools you can wield. It's a space where clarity is born, where focus is sharpened, and where strength is forged. It's not about hiding. It's about preparing. When you're silent, as it helps us, you're not distracted by noise. You're not performing for approval or bending under pressure to prove something. Helps us. You're moving with a different rhythm, one that doesn't need outside validation to feel valuable. Most people talk to be seen. They announce their plans, boast about their goals, share their next move before it's even in motion. But real power doesn't need to announce itself. Real power moves in quiet confidence and lets the results do the talking. In silence, you build without interference. You protect your energy. You stay grounded. You avoid the unnecessary friction that comes from explaining yourself to people who were never meant to understand you in the first place. You stop leaking your vision through casual conversation with people who don't have the capacity to carry it. You stop inviting premature opinions that might sway you off course. Silence isn't about secrecy. It's about sacred space. It's where the work happens, the discipline, the prayer, the strategy, the transformation. There's a reason some of the most successful people in the world go quiet when they're building. There's a reason you don't see every step, every meeting, every breakthrough. Because when something is valuable, it's guarded. You don't expose it to unnecessary scrutiny. You don't speak on it before it's ready. Silence creates room for development without distraction. It allows your actions to be driven by purpose, not pressure. When you're not performing for the public eye, you're to pursue excellence in private. Strategic silence is also emotional control. It's knowing when not to react, when not to engage, when not to defend yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. It's strength under control. It's knowing you don't have to win every argument to win in life. You don't have to clap at every insult, respond to every slight, or match every negative energy. Sometimes the most powerful move is no move at all, just silence and continued progress. People who misunderstand silence often mistake it for weakness because they're uncomfortable with stillness. They're addicted to noise, addicted to attention, addicted to reaction. But those who master silence master themselves. They master timing, focus, and peace. They're not impulsive. They're not easily shaken. They don't move out of fear. They move with intention. Even in conversations, silence can be a weapon. It can disarm manipulation. It can reveal truth. It can create discomfort that forces people to show who they really are. You don't have to fill every gap with words. Sometimes silence says more than 1,000 explanations ever could. Sometimes silence is the boundary. Sometimes silence is the discipline. Sometimes silence is the answer. There's also wisdom in not announcing every stage of your development. People will cheer for you too early or criticize you too soon. Both reactions can throw you off if you're not rooted. When you stay silent, you remove that noise. You build momentum without interference. You give yourself room to grow, pivot, fail, restart, all without an audience. The more silent you are, the more you observe, the more you listen, the more you learn. You catch details others miss. You notice patterns others ignore. You position yourself to lead while others are still reacting, because you're not just chasing motion, you're mastering movement. You're not just doing things to be seen, you're doing them to be effective. Focus is a force multiplier. Whatever you give your undivided attention to grows. Whatever you lock in on with intention, clarity, and consistency will begin to multiply. Most people never reach their potential, not because they lack talent, but because they scatter their focus in too many directions. They start something, then jump to something else. They chase opportunities, trends, approval, distractions, all at once, and wonder why nothing gains traction. The issue isn't their ability, it's their lack of concentrated focus. When you focus, you compress energy. You align your mind, body, and spirit around a single target. You move with purpose, and purpose eliminates confusion. Focus takes average people and turns them into high performers because it allows them to channel all of their strength into one thing at a time. You don't need to be the most talented. You just need to be the most focused. You just need to show up to the same thing day after day, sharpen it, refining it, mastering it. Focus also multiplies your time. When you cut out the distractions, the noise, the unnecessary detours, you buy back hours you didn't know you were wasting. Most people spend more time starting over than staying consistent. They keep switching lanes because they're addicted to novelty. But nothing multiplies without focus. A scattered mind creates a scattered life. When you focus, you don't just do more. You do what matters. In today's culture, distractions are designed to steal your focus. Everything is fighting for your attention. Social media, entertainment, gossip, comparison. If you're not intentional about your focus, the world will hijack it. You'll spend your energy on things that drain you instead of build you. Focus isn't something that happens by accident. It's a daily decision to say no to what's urgent so you can say yes to what's important. It's choosing depth over surface, quality over quantity, discipline over dopamine. Focus also multiplies your value. When you pour your energy into mastering a craft, building a business, developing your character, that level of depth becomes rare. Most people are dabblers. They skim, they try. But when you go deep, when you focus, you become an authority. You become known for excellence. And people pay for clarity, not confusion. People follow focus. People respect those who know who they are and what they're about. Even your relationships are affected by focus. When you're focused on growth, your circle begins to shift. Some people won't be able to walk with you anymore, not because they're bad people, but because they're not going where you're going. Focus separates the committed from the curious. When you get serious about your path, the wrong people will fall off naturally, and the right ones will rise with you. Focus multiplies momentum. When you stay locked in, you build habits. Habits build systems. Systems create consistency, and consistency creates results. One focused hour is more valuable than 10 distracted hours. One focused year can change your life. But you can't manufacture that kind of momentum when you're multitasking your life away, as it helps us. Focus demands that you become obsessed with your mission, that you protect your priorities, and that you eliminate what doesn't align. Mental clutter is the enemy of focus. That's why stillness, prayer, and solitude are necessary. It helps us. You've got to quiet the world so you can hear yourself think. You've got to clear your mind so you can direct it with power. Focus is spiritual. It's not just about productivity. It's about alignment. When you align your heart, your mind, and your actions, things begin to multiply that were stagnant before. You can't multiply what you won't commit to. You can't elevate what you keep abandoning. You can't expect compound results without focused input. The world celebrates hustle, but hustle without focus is wasted effort. The real power is in focused execution, not just movement, but meaningful, strategic, disciplined movement. That's when momentum kicks in. That's when the shift happens. Growth happens in the dark. The most powerful transformations don't begin on a stage, they begin in silence, in obscurity, in solitude. In the moments when no one is watching, no one is clapping, and no one is validating what you're building, that's where the real work begins. Just like a seed buried in soil, growth starts beneath the surface, out of sight, in conditions that may feel cold, lonely, or uncomfortable. But without that darkness, there can be no depth. And without depth, there can be no strength. Most people want to shine before they're ready. They want the spotlight without the struggle, the reward without the process. But growth doesn't work like that. The unseen seasons are the ones that shape your character, build your endurance, and force you to confront yourself. It's in the dark where you wrestle with doubt, silence your excuses, and decide who you really are. It's where you separate what's real from what's convenient. Because when you can stay faithful in the dark, you'll have the foundation to stand strong in the light. The dark teaches you patience. In a culture obsessed with instant results and overnight success, the dark forces you to slow down and stay the course. There's no audience clapping for your consistency. There's no applause for the discipline of showing up when you don't feel like it. But every rep, every late night, every early morning, every small act of faith, it all adds up. The roots are growing even when there's no visible fruit. And when the breakthrough comes, it won't be luck. It will be a byproduct of every hidden decision you made when it felt like nothing was happening. Growth in the dark also reveals your intentions. Are you doing it for attention, or are you doing it for transformation? Are you committed when it's quiet, when it's hard, when it seems like no one cares? It helps us, because if you can't handle the silence of the process, you'll never withstand the noise of success. If you need constant validation just to stay consistent, you're not rooted deep enough yet. The dark tests your motives. It strips away the superficial and exposes whether your why is strong enough to sustain the weight of the journey. Some of the most critical breakthroughs in your life will come when you feel the most hidden. Not because you're being punished, but because you're being prepared. The silence is not a sign of absence. It's a sign of alignment. It's where your identity is refined. It's where your vision becomes clear. It's where you stop looking around and start looking within. The dark is where the builder's mindset is formed. You learn to stop broadcasting and start building. You stop explaining and start executing. There's power in knowing that you're being developed in private. That while others are chasing attention, you're chasing mastery. That while others are performing, you're preparing. It's not always glamorous, and it's definitely not easy. But it's necessary, because if you skip the dark, you skip the depth. And if you skip the depth, your growth won't last when pressure comes. Surface level effort leads to surface level results. But when you grow in the dark, you're anchoring your future in something deeper than applause. Embrace the dark season, not as a punishment, but as a sacred process. Let it teach you what you're made of. Let it stretch you. Let it humble you. Let it train you to rely on your internal fire instead of external praise. You're not buried, you're being planted. And the deeper the roots grow, the stronger the fruit will be when it finally emerges. Darkness is not the absence of progress. It's the birthplace of it. Let results speak louder than words. In a world filled with noise, with constant talking, posting, promising, and predicting, the ones who truly move forward are the ones who stop explaining and start executing. Words are cheap when they're not backed by action. You can say what you want to do, who you plan to become, what you intend to build. But if it never shows up in your discipline as it helps us, your habits, your work ethic, and your outcomes, then it's just talk. And talk doesn't change your life. Results do. There's a difference between announcing potential and delivering performance. Most people are busy making declarations about what's coming, but few are willing to disappear for a season and actually do the work. People love to speak success into existence, but success doesn't answer to language, it answers to labor. Consistent, focused, behind the scenes labor that stacks day after day, regardless of applause. Results don't come to the most vocal. They come to the most faithful, those who stay in the process long after the excitement fades. Letting results speak louder than words is about humility and maturity. It's the understanding that you don't have to convince anybody of who you are or what you're capable of. The proof is in the fruit, and fruit doesn't argue. You don't have to defend your dream to people who can't see it. You don't have to over-explain your progress to those who misunderstand your path. Just build, just grow, just execute. And when the time is right, the results will say everything you've been working for without you needing to open your mouth. This principle requires patience. It demands that you resist the urge to be seen before you're ready, to be praised before you've proven. It takes discipline to stay quiet while you're developing, to resist showing people the blueprint and instead show them the building. It's tempting to want instant credit, to gain followers, to get likes for effort alone. But effort without outcome is still incomplete. Let your consistency catch up to your confidence. Let your actions mature enough to carry the weight of your ambition. Real impact doesn't need marketing. It needs momentum. And momentum is built in silence by doing the hard things no one claps for. The early mornings, the late nights, the repetition, the sacrifice, the uncomfortable yeses and the difficult nos. You don't have to prove anything to anyone except the version of you that's still tempted to quit. You don't owe announcements, you owe results. When you let results do the talking, you remove the pressure to perform. You stop living for perception and start living for purpose. You free yourself from needing external validation because internal integrity becomes your measure of success. You can look in the mirror and know that you're showing up with intention, regardless of who notices. You're no longer driven by how it looks. You're driven by what it produces. Letting results speak means you don't waste time arguing with doubters. You don't try to convince people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You don't chase applause or respond to criticism. You stay grounded in your mission. You build in silence. And eventually, the results speak so clearly that the same people who questioned you start quoting you. The same people who doubted you start watching you, not because you told them to, but because your work did. The truth is, people respect results. People are drawn to proof. You can inspire with words, but you lead with outcomes. If your results are undeniable, your voice becomes unshakable. People stop asking what you're doing and start asking how you did it. That's the power of results. They shift the conversation from speculation to admiration, not because of what you said, but because of what you showed. Discipline over distraction leads to destiny. Every day, you are being pulled in two directions. the direction of purpose and the direction of comfort, the life you desire, as the future you envision, the version of you that fulfills the calling on your life. That version is built through disciplined decisions, not emotional reactions. Distraction is always available. It's loud, it's tempting, it feels urgent. But destiny is quiet. It's consistent. It shows up in the routine, in the repetition, in the choices you make when no one is watching. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. It's choosing structure over chaos, priorities over impulses, and long-term gain over short-term pleasure. Distractions offer immediate relief. They feed the ego. They make you feel like you're moving when you're just spinning in circles. Discipline, on the other hand, often feels boring in the moment. It doesn't always deliver instant results, but it builds something that lasts. It creates the foundation for success, the habits that support growth, and the mindset that stays locked in when others fall off. Your destiny is not a product of your environment. It's a product of your daily choices. You can't control everything around you, but you can control what you focus on. The power of discipline is that it puts you back in charge. You stop being reactive and start being intentional. You begin to guard your time, your energy, your mind. You no longer move based on how you feel. You move based on what you've committed to. And commitment backed by discipline creates results that compound. Every distraction costs you something. It might not feel like a loss in the moment, but over time, every moment spent outside your purpose adds up. Time wasted is destiny delayed. Distractions don't always look like failures. Sometimes they show up as opportunities that aren't aligned. Invitations that flatter your ego but don't fit your calling. Relationships that feel good but pull you off course. The more disciplined you become, the more clearly you see the difference between movement and progress. Discipline sharpens your vision. It cuts away the unnecessary. It forces you to clarify what matters most. It eliminates excuses because it teaches you to show up anyway. Show up tired, show up uncomfortable, show up unsure, but show up. The more you do that, the more your self-respect grows. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to see results, and those results create momentum. That momentum turns into mastery, and that mastery opens doors that hustle alone never could. Discipline is not just about productivity. It's about alignment. When you live with discipline, your actions start to reflect your values. Your calendar reflects your calling. Your lifestyle reflects your vision. You're no longer at the mercy of distractions because you know what you're building. You're no longer swayed by the opinions of others because you know where you're headed. And that clarity protects your peace. Helps us. You don't need more time. You need more focus. You don't need more motivation. You need more consistency. Distractions are always waiting to derail you, but discipline keeps you centered. It becomes your anchor as it helps us. It's what carries you through seasons of resistance, through moments of doubt, through days when nothing feels like it's working. Because discipline doesn't ask how you feel, it asks what you committed to. And when you live from that place, you start to align your habits with your highest self. Every dream has a cost, and that cost is usually paid in discipline. The world will always offer shortcuts, noise, and options that lead nowhere. But if you're serious about your destiny, you've got to train yourself to choose what you want most over what you want now. You've got to build the mental and spiritual muscles to stay focused when everything around you is trying to pull you off track.